Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Moon Boy podcast. My name is Dallin and this is my buddy Donovan over at DIY Investing. Today we're going to be going over cryptocurrency charts, talking just mainly about how exciting the new up and coming run in crypto is going to be, and going over all the excitement that we've had over the past couple weeks in crypto as well. We did our first episode of this podcast last week, so make sure that when you're done watching this one to go check that one out as well. We were talking about geopolitical turmoil, and it's a really good one. So today should be pretty awesome too.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this amazing podcast. Always remember, we're going to leave invitation links in the description to join either or of our Discords. You'll see the link for High Altitude Investing, and you'll see the link to my channel for DIY Investing. Make sure you guys give us the most support possible by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing for more awesome updates like the one provided for you here. This is something that we plan to do every single Friday, so make sure you guys are tuning in and ready to listen. This is something we wanted to do for a while. We just barely kind of got around to it because I feel like when we do technical analysis, we don't get to cover and talk about a lot of the same stuff. And so this is kind of a way for us to connect with more of our viewers that are less interested in the TA and understanding that sort of principle around trading and investing, and where we can just sit here and kind of talk face to face, because we all have really good insight towards crypto. We've been doing it for a long time, and since we've already been working alongside next to each other with YouTube, it makes it really easy for us to just kind of conversate about what's happening right now.
And the other thing about this podcast is it's just to have fun too. I mean, Friday, it's every Friday. Friday's fun day. Yep. Tomorrow's the weekend for everyone, so it's just a good way to get a good kickstart on the weekend and get ready to look at some charts, talk about crypto, and prepare for, a lot of times there's excitement in the markets over the weekend, so we just kind of run over stuff on Friday, let the fun stuff happen, and go over it next week. So it's gonna be exciting and fun times for us while we're doing this.
Yep.
Donovan, crypto's been going crazy as hell lately.
Yes, it has. My long-term portfolio is looking really good right now. I'm really excited about how everything's kind of transpired. I think that we were seeing a lot of indecision around whether these markets were actually going to pick up, and we've seen the altcoins really start taking off, outperforming Bitcoin over the last few days specifically. Bitcoin's breaking out back up above just under 9K. We actually hit 9K a little bit earlier today, and so we're just continuing on in this uptrend. It's gone pretty parabolic. I think most people were expecting some kind of a pullback, but we really haven't experienced anything in the slightest, just minor sell-offs on the way up to 10K BTC. I think it's looking really exciting.
Yeah, and how's that Bitcoin SV and ETC looking?
Yeah, really good. Dallin made a call for BSV back at, gosh, what was it, like $60 or something like that?
Yeah. All I know is it went up over like 300. I can't remember the exact entry price, but it went up over 250, 300% since when I called it would go up. So that was a very profitable move for everybody that's in my VIP, and I let people on my YouTube channel know. It was a little bit later on in the call, but either way, I think a lot of people made good money on that one. And ETC is another one that I mentioned on my Twitter that actually just went crazy.
No kidding. I made a post on ETC right when it very first broke out of its falling wedge. And up that point, it's up 100% from my call in there, and so it's really exciting to see how this is kind of transpiring. I mean, I know for a fact I was not expecting ETC to kind of up and rally and lead the altcoin market on the way up, but it's over $10 right now. It's breaking out of an early double bottom reversal pattern, which you talked about in one of your last videos, and so overall I think that this is one of the best signs that we could look for inside of cryptocurrency, because I mean, we didn't know if we were going to see another lower high before we fell to new lows, but I think that this is the confirmation that we needed, that alt season is very much upon us, and Bitcoin's going to continue to rally up a little bit higher, so it's looking really good.
Bro, doesn't this feel like deja vu of 2016 crypto? Like,
exactly.
We were around in 2016 when alts first started making their uptrends. I mean, they did a little bit before that, but the real breakouts, the real confirmations were 2016, and this is just, it feels like we have a time machine, bro, and we just dialed back in time, and the only difference is the names of, like, and not even all of the names. Some of these are some of the same coins that we were watching at that same time breaking out. So it's just like, it's a whole nother vibe to be, we've been feeling this way in the past, and to be coming back to these same feelings and emotions, and not even aside from the emotions, but also just the chart patterns, it's exhilarating, it's exciting, especially when you've like broken through what sometimes me and Donovan call it the matrix. Like before you know what you're doing in charting and analysis, and then all of a sudden everything clicks for you and you can just see through the matrix, and it's just such a cool time to be seeing all of this happening. And you know, for the people that are getting in right now, for the people that are smart enough to actually take a little bit of risk and bet on something that maybe not everybody thinks is going to be the future, for the people that have enough vision and enough insight to actually do that right now, you guys are going to be very happy that you did that. I'm fully confident in that. There's honestly nothing ever in my entire life that I've been more confident in than cryptocurrency today.
Yeah, I agree 120% with that. I mean, back when we first got into it, so Dallin was a little bit earlier than me. I got into it right after Bitcoin actually broke out of its accumulation cycle back in 2016, right before the halvening that took place about summer of 2016. Bought my first Bitcoin at $450, and so we got in roughly the exact same time now. And in fact, the way the market's looking right now actually looks earlier than the time when I got in. It looks a little bit better, a little bit more undervalued market caps, and market structure looks a little bit cheaper. But with that being said, back when I first got into it, I had no idea what I was doing. I just kind of went out on a whim, trusted my instincts, said that, you know, I really believed in cryptocurrency. I really believed in the whole decentralized movement that we were experiencing, because I was just so against centralized banking and all of the corruptions of the monetary system. And so jumped into it, bought some Bitcoin, accumulated some altcoins, decided to try and trade it when I didn't have any, you know, knowledge. And looking back on it, if I would have known the things that we do now, and we would have been able to kind of strategize around that back when it was early in 2016, we would have been able to make so much more money. And so now to kind of see the markets at that exact same point, really undervalued, coins are just barely starting to kind of take their leaps into new highs. And so right now, for you guys that are watching and tuning in right now, this is such an undervalued point in the market structure, and I know a lot of people might be sitting here after they took massive losses throughout 2017, sitting there thinking to themselves, you know, are these things ever going to go back up again? When it hits my entry, am I going to just try and break even? The honest thing you should do for right now is just hold your investments. If you're somebody that's stuck bag holding a lot of losses from the bear market, you don't try and wait till a break even or maybe sell after a small rally up from these lows. Hold over the next 1 to 2 years, and that's where you're going to make the bulk of your investment. And so right now, in my opinion, we're still at the accumulation phase. Right now, I'm still buying cryptocurrency. I'm still adding to my long-term bags. I'll do a lot more day trading when the actual market picks up. But to see kind of where we're at right now, it looks exactly like the same as 2016. Same exact vibes, same market structure, same market sentiment. A lot of people are in disbelief that we're ever going to see a new all-time high. And I think that right now we're finally starting to see the early reversal taking place before we do venture back to that all-time high mark inside of Bitcoin. So it's very exciting.
Have a little faith in the markets when nobody else does. Buy the freaking dip, BTFD, and F the banks. Like, that's basically the whole strategy.
Yep.
And with cryptocurrency providing a secondary opportunity, it's like, you know, it doesn't... I mean, from a perspective of percentage up and percentage down, it matters when you got in the market. That's very true, and that's why we teach technical analysis and market cycles. But from a perspective of being part of this movement, whenever you guys got in, if you have bought in Bitcoin or any altcoin in the past, even if it was just for fun, or, you know, you're just playing around a little bit with your free time as a little hobby, just being part of this movement alone is such an amazing thing and such a cool thing. In the future, you know, I see this exactly as a repeat of the internet, maybe even bigger because of the amount of financial growth we will see across the world from the cryptocurrency technology. But just being part of this, you know, 5-10 years down the road, you'll be able to be like, I bought Bitcoin, I bought altcoins way back in the day. You guys are late to the game, and you know, you can you can just you can tell people, and even if you're not doing it to tell people, you can know for yourself that you were a visionary and that you decided to take a little chance and peek into the future a little bit. And that's a beautiful thing to be part of that. It's a great feeling. And I think that for me, what I've found is that there's no stronger community in this world than cryptocurrency. After an 84% drop, you still have everybody so hyped.
Yeah.
And although like the general populace hasn't woken up all the way to it, they can't ignore for long. You know, you keep having news articles of all these millionaires getting made from Bitcoin, from cryptocurrency. And it doesn't take very long for people to start opening their eyes, their ears. I mean, just the other day we were at the gym and I seen a friend of mine that I knew from when I was younger, and he's like, yeah, I've been buying Ethereum, you know? And like, this is in the dip and new people are getting into it still.
Yeah. It's a really exciting thing, and I think one of the best things that you guys can do, as well as, you know, kind of what me and him are already doing, is just trying to get as many people out there investing in this stuff, because me and him have seen the opportunity. We've known about it for a while. We're working on about 4 years. Me personally, I'm almost 4 years into trading and investing. I think he's a little bit longer than that. And so I've always made it a big goal of mine to be able to get as many other people involved with this side of technology, just because I know how much it's changed my life. I've known how much it's changed my friends' lives. The amount of profit potential to be had inside of cryptocurrency is something unseen in conventional markets. I mean, even if you would have bought the bottom of Disney stock, like, it still isn't even as big of a move as we've seen in cryptocurrencies that have performed well in 1 year's time. And so you're not going to find this sort of profit potential anywhere else. Do yourself a favor by getting as many people involved with it as you can. I know for me, I just helped one of my friends. She's just recently out of foster care, been in foster care, had a number of different trialing experiences growing up, and she actually got invested with some basic attention token, and then I had her buy a little bit of XRP on top of that. And so,
dude, hell yeah.
Yeah, getting as many people involved with this as I can, because at the end of the day, I know what it's done for my life. I see the profit potential, like Dallin said at the earlier part of the video. This is just like 2016 back in the day before we have a major bull run. And so the people that are getting invested now, people that are willing to take that risk and see the longevity and the vision that it takes to really see an asset grow in value and to be willing to hold through all of the emotional swings up and down. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of mental and emotional maturity to even do anything like that. And so it's really exciting that we're actually starting to see the bull run start to pick up a little bit. We've been in about a 7-month downturn inside of Bitcoin. Altcoins have been even longer than that. Some altcoins have failed to even make a higher high up to this point. And so right now there's a lot of fear in the market, but that's also why you want to be accumulating in this time. And the people that have been accumulating, the people that have been watching me and Dallin, are really setting themselves up to make a significant return on investment. So just remember to stick through. Don't listen to any external forces. If you have a strong feeling and you believe in the longevity of this asset class, why would you listen to what anybody else has to say? All you really should be doing is buying and holding. The average person really shouldn't be trading a whole lot. And if you are willing to dedicate the time learning to trade, make sure you start small. Make sure you're minimizing your risk so that you're actually able to learn this trade.
Investing is a good beginner way to get into this. You know,
it's the best in my opinion.
Just buy, forget, check on it every once in a while, but don't trip about it. If you're a beginner, if you're trying to learn the trading and you're serious about it, do it. You know, it can really accelerate your profits, but you do have to want to understand that you're going to have to set aside time and be dedicated, just as if you wanted to learn an instrument or anything that is mastery. Trading is a little bit more like a mastery thing, whereas investing, a lot of times you can buy, forget, come back, and bam, you've got a bunch of money in there. You know, so that's why we say that. Another thing that kind of helps with, because Donovan's extremely correct in saying the emotional maturity. There's been no thing in my entire life that has matured me emotionally as much as investing and trading in crypto. But one of the things that really helped me and helped shifted my perspective, kind of flipped your paradigm a little bit, is if you look at it from the perspective of, Bitcoin is traded versus the US dollar. So when people are like, oh, cryptocurrency is so volatile, Bitcoin's so volatile, you have to understand that this chart isn't just the price of Bitcoin. This is the price of Bitcoin versus the US dollar, or versus the euro, or versus... And you have to understand that the world has been printing money like crazy. Doesn't matter if you're in America, if you're in Europe, especially if you're in Venezuela. So when you see Bitcoin's volatility, it's not necessarily a pure representation of the volatility of Bitcoin, but it's also a representation of the volatility of the world currencies. And so that kind of helps you flip your perspective. And one of the best things I've ever heard, I can't remember exactly who said this. If you guys know, you can give them credit in the comments below. But I heard somebody once upon a time in the crypto space say that not investing in Bitcoin could be one of the biggest financial mistakes that you ever make. Because if you're keeping your value, if you're keeping your funds inside of things that are losing value, or losing value at a continually accelerating rate, then your overall assets, your overall net worth, your overall value as a person is guaranteed to become less over time. Whereas if you're putting it in stuff like Bitcoin, you're actually maintaining, you're hedging yourself against the falling value of fiat currencies and against the actual volatility of the world markets, because they're pretty volatile too. If you
for sure.
So you have to remember that the US dollar has an effect on the Bitcoin price. And if you flip your paradigm, if you look at it from the complete opposite way that most people would expect you to, it empowers you through these cycles, and you go, oh, 84% down? That's really just the US dollar, just, there's just a shit ton of it getting printed, and then we're slowing down, and then we're getting a whole bunch more printed. You have to understand the effect of inflation.
Yes. Something to touch up on that fact is one thing I've thought about a lot, and I've actually seen charts that people make, different analytics, that show the rate of inflation adjusted to the stock price of different stocks, like the S&P 500. They calculate the added rate of inflation, and then they take away inflation, and they show you what the equivalent price of the stock would be. And for the majority of the last 50 years, stocks have basically had volatile swings back and forth, but they've never maintained a positive uptrend. And that's literally showing us that inflation is what is driving the value of these prices. You might think that you're making this big return on the stock market, but in actuality, it's really just showing you the rate of inflation that's taking place. And so that's why we're in such a major bubble throughout all of the economics in America, and not just America, but the entire world, with these fiat currencies and these centralized banks that are able to just print new and new money. The problem with that...
F the banks.
Yes, exactly. The problem with that is the fact that with this inflation, it might show that the economy's doing good. We might have this perceived outlook of stock market going up and all of these value prices going up. When in actuality, the thing that's really happening is this inflation is just creating a big bubble. And when that bubble comes crashing down, it's going to be affected throughout all markets. It doesn't matter what it is. And I think that with the 2008 financial crisis spawning Bitcoin shortly after, we now for the first time have a hedge against that corrupt financial system. And we're seeing these big parabolic swings in Bitcoin, but it's less about Bitcoin going parabolic, and it's more of a deflationary asset going against a inflationary economy. And that's what we really need to think about. At the end of the day, one thing that I think about quite significantly over the last few years, specifically with this bear market, has been the fact that right now we value everything in terms of dollars. There's going to come a point in time where dollars are going to hyperinflate, and we're going to switch to another sort of payment system. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Bitcoin is going to be the currency of the future, but I do strongly believe it's going to be viewed like gold, and it will at least have the functionality of a store of value and a safe haven. You guys got to remember, there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin in the supply. What happens when we stop valuing things in terms of dollars and we start looking at potentially the value of Bitcoin, or how few Bitcoins there are? You own one Bitcoin. To put a little fact in your guys' heads, there's 46 million millionaires inside of the world. Even if one millionaire, if even if every single millionaire wanted to own one Bitcoin, it's not possible because there's double the amount of millionaires. There's over double the amount of millionaires as there are Bitcoin in circulating supply.
Wow.
Now, exactly.
That's an amazing statistic.
On top of
right
that,
there.
you have the fact that 1% of the Bitcoin addresses hold 90% of the supply. So you already have a fine 1% of people that are holding the biggest majority of the Bitcoin supply. So the fact that we still have the opportunity to own one Bitcoin right now, and even a fraction of a Bitcoin, you guys don't fully understand what this is going to mean 10 to 15 years down the line when the dollar's hyperinflated and we've adopted a new form of currency.
Exactly. And it just goes to show you, like I said, not investing in Bitcoin could be the worst financial decision of your life, because you have to remember that inflation is guaranteed. It's much more guaranteed. Like you said about stocks, yes, some of them have been on uptrends versus even inflation, but the growth that they have is so minimal. And so what intelligent people are doing in the markets right now is they're figuring out ways to get more cash and then hedge that cash against inflation. Get more cash, hedge that cash against inflation. So you want to have a way that you're generating lots of cash. You want to have a strong income in whatever way that you can figure that out, whether it's from trading, investing, starting a business, all three. You know, figure out how you can increase your income, get your cash, and then take that cash and don't just stockpile it so that you can continually lose its value. Hedge it in stocks, hedge it in Bitcoin, hedge it in places where you're going to avoid that loss.
Right.
And you know, that's how you can beat the system, because you can't, you know, one man doesn't have the power to go completely eliminate the structure of the system. Not one man can just go and be like, okay, we're just going to stop inflating the US dollar right now, you know, come on, stop it. You're screwing everything up. Nobody has the power to do that, so instead you have to play the system. Mm-hmm. And that's just the cold truth of the matter. It's not even, but it's a positive thing once you're awakened to it and once you're aware of it. You know, but we just have, as a people, I think we need to evolve, elevate our consciousness, whatever you want to call it, to a point where we're not using these hyperinflated currencies, so that we actually have a more fair distributed system, you know, that takes away a lot of this problem of wealth gaps and just having too much power in the elite without having a more balanced power structure. And I'm not saying that Bitcoin is going to for sure make it so that there's no financial power in the elites. I personally wouldn't be surprised at all if they're accumulating the living crap out of these markets right now, because they understand exactly what we're talking about with hedging and stuff like that. But I am saying that it's a step, a very strong step in the right direction that will lead to a flowering of events, a snowball effect of events that will lead to a more balanced system. And that's what I've always stood behind. That's what I stand behind today. And that's why I'm so big as a supporter and an investor and YouTuber, and Donovan as well, in these markets, is because we understand the reason that it's going to be around.
Yes.
So
exactly. It's really exciting that we're all here at the forefront of this revolution. I mean, right now it's all speculation. All anybody has to say about cryptocurrency is speculative interest. And so we can come on here, we can explain our price targets, we can explain reasons for investing in different projects, reasons for thinking why it has so much potential. But at the end of the day, all you can really have is a vision of what you kind of think will happen, and then you just play the game based off of that. It's like you said, the Matrix. I mean, one thing that I can say is the fact that a lot of people in cryptocurrency have this sour taste in their mouth towards banking and the financial institutions and how the current economic structure works, whether it's politics, whether it's banking, whatever it might be, businesses. All of these play kind of a significant role in society, and a lot of people kind of hate and project that hate and anger towards them. And you guys got to remember that that's exactly how we're controlled. And so instead of being so angry about how the system works, instead of saying these people are terrible, they're evil and corrupt, while that might be true, at the end of the day, we don't know these people personally. And so the best thing that you're going to be able to do for yourself is learn how to play the system with them. Learn how smart money invests. Learn how the market makers make their profits and how they trade the markets. Because if we can understand how to be like the top 1% in society, that's how we ourselves can grow enough wealth, grow enough influence that we ourselves can actually change how the current system is run. You can't just blame everybody for the problems.
Facts.
You have to be the person that rises to the occasion and creates the alternative that everybody would adopt and use. And so that's the bit of advice that I can give you for right now, is just make sure that you're not blaming and putting so much hate and anger out there, but instead working on yourself, growing your own personal brand so that you yourself can make the changes you want to see in the world.
And I completely agree with that. I think awareness of the corruption in the system is important. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have had people wouldn't have had the idea of Bitcoin and things like that. But I do think that it's just the way that we had the system set up as well. Mm-hmm. It was the best thing that was functioning at that time.
Right.
And so when something better comes around, like Bitcoin, and I say F the banks and stuff like that because it's just funny. I don't actually hold anger towards them. I just personally am aware of the corruption and a better system, and so
what you're
it's just
saying,
fun to play around that. But I do think that it is super important to be positive, like you say, rather than just making this another reason to be angry at the world, because a lot of people, and I think that's what both of us has done, even though we joke about F the banks and stuff like that, we've taken it and we've literally developed our lives around this and made it something that is a positive thing for us, and a thing that we're seeing change and growth and development and better things coming in the world because of it.
So basically what Dallon's trying to say is that he's an XRP maximalist and he expects XRP to hit 500.
Go all in on XRP right now. Sell everything you have, mortgage your house, go all in. No, I'm just kidding. Do not do that. That'd be retarded. But I do think having a little XRP in your portfolio isn't the worst idea. But I don't know. Donovan likes XRP. I like Litecoin more, so we'll see. It's a little battle between us.
It's a battle. It's almost like a race battle, but it's a crypto battle. Which coin is going to be the best coin? I personally like XRP just because the fact that I do believe that we'll have this transition period between the centralized banking institutions and then the decentralized movement. They're going to have to come to a midpoint understanding. And I think XRP is going to be that kind of bridge between the centralized and decentralized movement.
Donovan's actually a Rothschild. He's an evil banker.
I'm part of the 1%.
And he wants to ruin the world with more banks and control and centralization.
Yeah, I'm a really evil character when it comes to hoarding my XRP. I'm going to use all of my XRP to cast bad on the world.
Cast spells.
My spell will be to increase banking institutions on the blockchain.
Some evil Illuminati spells.
In all serious note, I'm actually, my biggest altcoin position is actually Ethereum. It's not XRP.
Yeah, true. I think that XRP, for me and kind of what I've seen, all jokes aside, is that XRP would be a good platform as a transitional thing, because we still use banks. Mm-hmm. Banks are an important part of society today, and I think there will be a transitional period to where everybody is their own bank.
Right.
Some people are going to start by being their own bank right off the beginning and keep all their Bitcoins on their Trezor or their Ledger wallet, and they're just going to be their own bank all the way through. And then you're going to have a more bigger population of people that already use banks, or people that don't have banks at all, to where we're going to have a transitionary period where those people that are already using banks may end up using cryptocurrency and banks for a while before we actually, go full on into this be your own bank philosophy. It's going to take time for that to take off. I think countries that are unbanked will probably be their own bank philosophy first,
Right.
But countries that are already banked, it's going to be that transition.
Right. And the majority of countries have a bank. I mean, the most what's the word I'm looking for? The most countries with the best infrastructure, the most infrastructure are going to be the first ones.
Well-developed countries.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the ones with the biggest banks, and so the majority of the population is going to use these bridge currencies like XRP, and I think that we're already starting to see that. I mean, XRP has a lot of adoption. I'm very confident in it performing well this next bull run, but I do believe that there's going to be a lot of cryptocurrencies that kind of look to solve that problem and really look to capitalize on the wealth transfer that's going to take place between the centralized and the decentralized movement. And I mean, I think that a lot of people hate XRP for the reason that it works with banks, but you got to remember that it's only going to benefit all of the other cryptocurrencies. Say that you're a 100% diehard decentralized supporter and you hate XRP, you got to remember that all of that money from the banking institutions has to come into the crypto market, and it's going to come to XRP, leave XRP, trickle into the decentralized applications like the ones that you guys are pushing for. So it's a one big giant bubble full of wealth that's going to be shared amongst the crowd equally. It's not that one coin's only going to benefit and the rest are going to suffer because XRP's in with the banks. It's all going to benefit each other. And if you guys fully believe in the virus of cryptocurrency that's going to overtake the world, you guys know that by us making those connections with the banks, you have to understand that that virus is only going to spread and it's only going to create more infrastructure inside of the decentralized movement as a whole. So that's the way I look at it. I mean, obviously XRP isn't my biggest position, but it's one of the best high caps that's performed well over the last 6 years that it's been around since 2013. I think that this next bull run is going to be very paramount, that the people that invested in the high cap coins first are going to make the most amount of money, because that's where all of the real institutional adoption is going to actually take place first, is the higher cap coins proven themselves, have track records, have a real functioning product, and then then your other altcoins that you're really hyped about will shortly see profit afterwards. But it's the high caps that are going to be the biggest bets and the safest bets for this next cycle.
Oh, I agree. I made a stupid little pile of money off XRP in the last run, so I'm excited for it to pop off again, to be honest with you. That was a fun coin to ride. And I agree. I think rather than maybe the bubble, as an analogy, I guess, maybe like a river of money, because I think that sometimes when people hear the word bubble, it scares them, even though most things that were good to invest in used to be bubbles at one point. And usually things get overinflated in value and become bubbles after a certain period of time. I think that the best way to look at the cryptocurrency economy, and really the best way to look at the world economy, is a huge river of wealth. And you really just have to figure out your way to tap into that wealth and take some from the river. And the cool part about wealth is as you grow your wealth, you learn how to grow it more. And so as the world gets richer, actually it trickles down for everybody.
Right.
And although there is a pretty big gap right now in wealth, what's actually interesting is the amount of mouths that get fed. They sound like horses. Have you had a mouth that got you feed for the day? We're not horses, but
we come from the farmlands.
Yeah, we're from little towns in Utah.
Everybody's got cows. There's a donkey out in the back field right now.
Yeah, quite literally. But anyways, so the amount of millionaires and billionaires, as that number actually increases, the amount of jobs and the amount of people fed in the world is actually increasing at pretty much the same rate as the amount of wealth. So although the gap is big right now, and I think crypto will help with that gap, also just having more money feeds more people.
Right.
And that is an important thing to remember.
Right.
So even the fact that we do inflate our currency so much, printing more of it isn't necessarily creating direct value, but it can create perceived value.
It's creating awareness.
It's creating awareness, and it can make people feel richer in a lot of ways. When there's more money around, they see more dollars and stuff like that. So it's not all negative, but it's still fake. It's still fake money.
Yeah.
You know, I
love
it's still funny money.
The boomers out there are watching this and just cringing. How can the dollar be fake money when they're trading internet currency? I love that. I love talking to my uncles. I actually have an uncle that started a telecommunications business in the 80s and actually sold his company to what became T-Mobile. And so he's part of the chairman on the board of members and directors of T-Mobile. And I've talked to him about cryptocurrency, and while he is really fond of the technology of blockchain, he doesn't look at Bitcoin or anything as a self-sustaining system. He looks at it as just kind of fun money. They're a little bit too old school, and you got to remember, guys, that these are the old saps that we're going to be taking the money from in the next cycle.
Hey, be careful. My demographic is a lot older than me.
Hey, mine is too. Actually, the majority of my
we're not trying to offend you.
Hey, if you're a boomer and you're watching this, chances are you're already invested. But if you're a boomer that hates Bitcoin, we're going to steal your money.
We're either going to steal your money or we're going to convert you to it.
One of the two.
So watch out. We're coming for you.
Oh,
well, no, in my opinion, ever since 1913 and the Federal Reserve, and then once we left the gold standard with our currency, our money has been backed by, I mean, you could say it's backed by a lot of different things, like the technology that we develop in America. But overall, from a political standpoint, it's backed by a lot of different war.
Yep.
And so I think that if we can move away from that type of system of needing to have war to create value, if we can move towards a system of more peace, that could really be a big thing for our planet and potentially save us from a catastrophic future, you know.
And I think that's already I think it's already happening, and cryptocurrency is going to help solve that, because as of right now, the dollar theoretically isn't backed by anything specific. It used to be on the gold standard, now it's not on the gold standard, and so we're really not backed by anything besides debt itself. Now, the only real thing that I see holding the value of the dollar up is the fact that it's still tied directly to the oil trade. Now, the thing about it, guys, is the fact that there's
Donovan's too popular.
The thing about that is the fact that we're already seeing countries starting to move away from the dollar, and they're starting to develop like the cryptocurrencies that are that they have back to the value of oil or back to their currency that they can trade using oil without the US dollar. And so we're already starting to see that. Now that's really detrimental for America. It's really detrimental for the dollar, I should say. But in the grand scheme of peace on Earth and the overall population, it's the best thing that could have happened, because at the end of the day, every time a country tries to drop the US dollar, we go to war with them and we try and, you know, show them that we're still in power, you still have to obey to our commands. But they can't stop cryptocurrency. And we've already seen Russia and China, different countries in the Middle East, starting to adopt this movement of a cryptocurrency so that they can trade without the US dollar and bypass those sanctions around the oil trade. And it's these little things that are actually going to create more prosperity in the world. Even though America is going to see kind of the short end of the stick with that, I personally want that to happen because of the fact there's so much evil that is done with war. War is can be a good thing, and it was predominantly a bad thing in a lot of ways. I mean, for me personally, I think that we're progressed as a society enough that we don't need to continue to go to war with other countries. And in fact, if we decided to go a route of peace and we decided to, you know, work together as one whole, one unified system, then it would actually be better for all of the world. Poverty would go down, there wouldn't be as much crime. I think that there would be a lot of benefits from that. Now, with that being said, there would also be some disadvantages that we can't foresee happening until the system's there, but I do see it as a more positive light than what the current system is.
It's programmable money, and once you can program money, you can attach it to oil, you can attach it to different things. It's all on a public ledger, so you can double check to make sure that the oil reserves are there for the value of the currency. Mm-hmm. It's public, it's programmable money.
It's the Internet of Things.
It's the Internet of Things, and I think that you said that the America will get the short end of the stick. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think that the U.S. dollar as far as a value system goes, we'll get the short end of the stick. But I think that, you know, if the US dollar crashes, the euro is going to crash. I think that they're all going to get a short end of the stick as far as their fiat value goes. But I think the world's value, the economic value in the world, will actually go up. So what we'll see is the fiat value continue to go down like it always has, and then we'll see the world's wealth supply go parabolic as fiat value actually decreases.
Right.
And that's value creation. And it comes from hedging, it comes from investing, it comes from entrepreneurship, it comes from money that we can trust.
And it would actually make a lot of sense that would be the case, because I think that the reason why we have these centralized banks was always for the bankers were able to accumulate more assets. They were using a worthless fiat currency, kind of this big Ponzi scheme that they've been running for the last 100 years. And basically what's happened is they've used a worthless fiat currency to accumulate more assets, more real estate, more all of these little things, more stocks, more gold and silver. They've used a worthless fiat currency system to accumulate real tangible wealth that has real value inside of the world. And so when the fiat currencies start to crash, the average retail investor, the average person in society is going to get hit very hard, because they're stuck on a fiat system when the smart money is gravitating towards real functioning assets with a real value in the world. And so it makes sense with what you said. If the fiat currencies start to decline and the world value supply starts to go up, it was a perfect Ponzi scheme that the rich just ran to accumulate more assets, because they want their assets to go up.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily a completely invaluable currency, because it's obviously valuable enough to do that. But there's this invisible thing that happens where it devalues. And that's the invisible thing is people are kind of aware of it, but not really.
They don't see it.
You know, they don't fully understand what's going on. So that's part of what we want to do, is bring awareness to these types of things. Okay, I think that was pretty interesting. We should probably go into some technical analysis here. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by running over a couple coins, and then I'll let you go ahead and do your analysis as well.
Perfect.
So I'm going to start with Bitcoin, because I think that Bitcoin is one of the most important things to chart in cryptocurrency. It's the biggest market cap. It pretty much determines what's going to happen in the rest of the market. And that's something we've well established, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys had heard that again, because if there's any new viewers or new people, by the way, like our video and subscribe to both of our channels, links in the description, then you guys can start to apply that and understand that when Bitcoin goes up, altcoins go up. When Bitcoin goes down, altcoins go down for the most part. It has the most influence on the market. So in the last one, I actually had the same chart up about Bitcoin, and I showed the 618 and the .65 Fibonacci levels. And those are also known as the golden pocket. And that is an area where a lot of buyers come into the market in a bull market. When you go up and then you fall down to the 618, that's a good spot for buyers to come back in. And in a bear market, if you go from the peak high to the peak low, you actually see that the 618 is a very, very common place for the sellers to come back into the market. And I'll show you what that looks like right here. As you can see, from this peak right here to this low down here, the sellers came right in at the 618 and the 65. So that golden pocket level is very important to be aware of and understand. Now, with that being said, this does look like the beginnings of the bull market, and why we're so excited is because that golden pocket has been tested, and we bounced very nicely out of the golden pocket. We broke the resistance of the wedge. We broke horizontal resistance of 8,300 per coin, and we've started to move up towards 10,000, which is actually what I had drawn on my chart for a long time now, is a move up towards 10,000. The real thing that we were just kind of waiting on is, are we going to go down to the 786, or are we going to bounce off at the 618.65 level, the golden pocket? And, you know, we bounced to the 618. So With that type of strength in the market, that's what's really been fueling these huge upward moves in the altcoins. That's what's been fueling all the mania that's been going on, is that Bitcoin bounced off the 618 and broke out of this wedge. And so what I'm really watching for is that 10,000 level to be tested. If we get up above 10,000, we might even just go straight up for Elliott 3-wave. And so that could be extremely impulsive. It could bring us up to previous all-time highs. It could bring us up past 20,000. And so really just be watching how that $10,000, this downward pointing resistance level right here, watch how that reacts in the market. Because if we get above that downtrending resistance, the sky is the limit on a 3-wave. You know, we've already seen a 3-wave start to come on BSV, but a 3-wave in Bitcoin coming as well will just be complete insanity. Yeah, completely magnificent. So, all right, now I'm going to run over Ethereum Classic as well. I talked about this on my channel. So, if, you know, go check out those videos if you haven't seen them yet. This is Ethereum Classic versus the US dollar. And we had a double bottom breakout pattern. So this is really, really good. This is the first low in the bottom. This is a resistance, and then you have another low. And when you break above the resistance of the double bottom, it confirms that it's happening, and the market moves the same height as a minimum target as that double bottom pattern. So really, ETC probably isn't done moving. It might dip a little bit before it goes back up, but it's not going to make another low, I don't think. It would be pretty weird for it to make a new low at this point. So what I would expect in this market is to push up towards that resistance level and start to make that target happen. Also, you guys, this is a 1-2 and this is a 3-wave. And so this is why, you know, if ETC is making its 3-wave and Bitcoin and the other markets follow each other, then you know, Bitcoin could be making its 3-wave as well. And so to see that in ETC is very, very nice. Go check out my video though. I have a target on there that you guys can watch and check out. I believe it was $175 per ETC. Let me double check because I use the same tool to figure out what that is every single time, so I can make sure that's correct right here. Yeah, $175 per ETC. That's the 3618, and this being a 1-wave, that would be a very nice spot for ETC to move forward in its next cycle. So, you know, I'm excited about ETC personally. And then one more coin here before I let Donovan take the spotlight with analysis. BSV is one that I have made predictions for, and it has started to perform well in those predictions already. This is a 3-wave, so this was a 1-2-wave structure, and we started to make the 3-wave. You can tell 3-waves are usually the biggest volume, and we have the biggest volume in the market right now on the breakout of that 3-wave. So with Bitcoin SV, 1100 per Bitcoin SV is my personal target. It's going to see dips. It's going to accumulate. It's probably going to fall back onto this major support level right here. But overall, I think this has created its uptrend and will continue to maintain that uptrend upwards of 1100 per coin and possibly further. So those are my BSV targets personally. And you know, quickly to touch up on, this is very similar to how Bitcoin Cash was. Everybody hated it. It was a fork of Bitcoin. They didn't want it to succeed. It dipped when it first got released, and then it makes its 1-wave and breaks out and just starts to go very, very parabolic. And so that we're kind of getting a repeat of the emotion and the cycles and the way people are looking at it as what we saw with Bitcoin Cash. So Bitcoin SV is definitely on my radar. Okay, that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over from analysis, so I'll let Donovan take the spotlight on that.
Alright guys, so here we are taking a look at first the Bitcoin dominance. We're going to go over the Bitcoin dominance. We're also going to be taking a look at the altcoin total market cap and then tying it all together with some Ethereum analysis. Now, kind of what I was watching for the last few months is I was expecting us to kind of go for one more impulse wave up to about 79% Bitcoin dominance before we found a top and started dropping. But something that's actually taking place here is the fact that the Bitcoin dominance very easily can be topping out right where we're at. We have technically made a lower high. We're at a horizontal support zone right here. at about 65% Bitcoin dominance, but it's looking very weak, like we're about to sell off. Now, if we sell off, I'm kind of just watching Fibonacci for this next downside target, and I think that my targets will be at 63% and then all the way down here at about 58%. And so I think that we'll see a pretty strong sell-off taking place, whether we bounce there, whether we go to the 618. Really, this next retrace is what's going to show us in a big way what is going to happen with the altcoin dominance. Now, there's a couple scenarios that I'm watching for based off Elliott wave theory. This was a 1, this was a 3, and we were working on the final 5-wave impulse. Now, the thing about this, there's 2 scenarios that I'm watching for this impulse. Let's get it drawn here. So there's a couple things that I'm watching for with this impulse. Either this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're about to start topping out, or my other alternative is this was a 1, this was a 3. We'll come back down to either the 382, potentially the 618, and then we'll go for one more impulse upwards of 79%. The more it's looking like this is topping out, and it's looking a little bit less like we're going to have another impulse up to 79% dominance. But overall, guys, with Bitcoin selling off, this is going to produce a pretty big amount of volume heading into the altcoins. The altcoins are going to see a pretty significant rally coming soon, and so that's what I'm foreseeing based off of the dominance. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the altcoin market cap. Now the altcoin market cap, to me, I want to talk to you guys about why Ethereum is actually my biggest position. Now, a lot of people know me and my channel from actually watching my XRP updates. A lot of people followed me from XRP community. And I've always told people that I hold a significant portion of XRP, but at the end of the day, I actually hold a significant more amount of Ethereum than I do XRP, because I'm actually more bullish on Ethereum for the long term. I think that with Ethereum, it's the driver of the value in the altcoin market. If you ever take a look at the altcoin total market cap and then look at the Ethereum chart, it's almost identical. It follows more closely to the Ethereum chart than any other altcoin out there. And so what that tells me is there's a significant more amount of money heading into Ethereum, and that's actually what's driving the value of the altcoin market. Now, I'm not saying that there's a lot of other, I'm not saying that there isn't a lot of other drivers like XRP, like maybe Monero, like some of these other high cap altcoins. But the thing is, it follows more closely to Ethereum's price structure, which leads me to believe that it's going to continue to do so. Now, this is a little chart that I drew of the altcoin market cap. It goes in these 3 different phases. This was kind of the build-up phase that happened right before we made our final blow-off top. We sold off, and then we started making lower highs and lower lows. Now, this exact market structure, pull up the Ethereum chart, is the exact same thing that we saw inside of Ethereum. We saw roughly the same sort of accumulation right here. We had this triangle pattern before we broke out and went to our all-time high. We made lower highs and lower lows, but it's almost the exact same market structure. It's following more closely with Ethereum than any of the other altcoins. Even the bottom formations that were formed here looks exactly like Ethereum's market structure. And even if we pull up a Fibonacci extension tool and take a look at kind of where we bottomed in this short-term bear retrace, we went down and bottomed directly on support of the 88% fib. And if we take a look at Ethereum, you're going to see that this happened the exact same way. And so for me, guys, I'm much of a bigger bull on Ethereum in this next retrace, landed at the exact same Fibonacci point, because of the fact you see such striking correlations between the Ethereum chart on the dollar and then also taking a look at the total market cap of altcoins. If the total market cap of altcoins is following closer to Ethereum and it looks exactly like the Ethereum chart, what does that tell you about the majority of the money inside of the altcoin market? And so for me, guys, I'm a big time buyer of Ethereum. It's my biggest altcoin bag right now. I'm actually pretty high leveraged into Ethereum as we speak. I've got quite a bit of money riding in that. I wanted to get to my goal of having at least 32 Ethereum so that I could actually stake on ETH 2.0 when that proof of staking blockchain gets released. And I'm actually really excited for Ethereum for that reason, because ETH 1.0 is basically a shit coin. It doesn't work, it doesn't scale, it doesn't do all the things that it really needs to. But you got to remember, guys, that we're basically in the dial-up era of the internet bubble, and so things are really slow right now, but we're starting to see a big advancement in these cryptocurrencies. And so I think that basically what we're about to see with F 1.0 compared to F 2.0 is seeing a Model T Ford truck competing against a Formula One race car. And so that's basically what's going to happen. And so I've been buying a lot of Ethereum with the intent of holding this for the long term, because I do see so much potential with F 2.0. So anyways, guys, this was the analysis that I had for you. Wanted to quickly touch up on some things that I'm seeing. So let's actually switch back to the main camera and wrap this video up with some final thoughts.
So yeah, I completely agree. I love what you said about Ethereum and the crypto markets being like the dial-up era of the internet. It basically is. I mean, like, so one thing I like to say is if you have like a Visa payment system and you run a business, it can take up to 24 hours for those funds to actually get processed, for you to be able to take those funds out with Visa payment systems. Because the Visa network basically has to confirm the transactions just like the Bitcoin network does.
Right.
So Bitcoin is, you know, it's a huge improvement in speed from our current systems, but you have to remember, because 15 minutes is a lot shorter than 24 hours to get a confirmation that that money really went through.
Right.
But you have to remember that 15 minutes compared to what we need for a global payment system is still really slow.
Yeah.
So we're still
Very slow.
dial-up internet, you know. It's like the internet made it so that we could communicate, we could have forums, we could have all these things that we never had before. Bitcoin makes it so we have digital money, programmable money, smart contracts, decentralized applications, all these things that we never had before. But the internet was slow at the start, and Bitcoin is slow at the start, and that is an amazing comparison. So I really appreciate you for saying that.
Yep, things are looking very good. I mean, if you're there's a lot of people in the Discord, but there's a lot of people in the crypto community that will sit here and say that Bitcoin is destined to fail because it's slow, when that's not actually the case. Everybody's just really optimistic about altcoins because of how hard they rallied in the last cycle. Now, I'm not in any sort of way saying that altcoins are terrible investments, because I'm heavily invested into altcoins. But at the end of the day, I still see Bitcoin as being that driver of value inside of the market. I still think that the Bitcoin dominance will continue to fall, but altcoins and Bitcoin will rally up together. And so to see kind of the way that the cryptocurrencies are functioning now, it's still very underground. There's still a lot of technical development that still has to take place before we can implement these on a mass scale. But we're seeing the early building blocks of that happening. Right now, it's just the vision that we have. We foresee that these cryptocurrencies are going to perform really well, and they're going to be able to scale to the expectations we all have on a global system. But until then, right now, it's all speculation. And so all we can really do is look at the charts, show you guys what we see. Thank God we got into technical analysis, because I don't know how the hell I'd be investing if I couldn't tell what the chart was doing. Because at the end of the day, I believe in the technology, but if you're only basing it from a technological standpoint, most of these cryptocurrencies are kind of shit coins. And so it makes more sense for me to be able to see what is happening on a price chart compared to just, oh, well, F 1.0 is still slow, 15 transactions per block. That's pretty insignificant. That's not very good in what we're trying to see here. And so I think that for the longevity, it's much easier for me to read a price chart compared to look at the fundamentals of it. Fundamentals are secondary in nature to me. I like to look at the price. And so overall, we're still very early in this thing, but it's looking very good from both perspectives.
Yeah, I agree with you. The coins are definitely, there's a lot of them that are doing really, really interesting things, but there's an equal amount or more that are shit coins. And so,
Yeah.
But, you know, the ones that are doing really interesting things are building the infrastructure. And we just need to keep building the infrastructure, keep doing the podcast, the Moon Boy podcast, and you know, just keep talking about this stuff, because the more we have the conversation going, the more the virus is going to spread. So spread that virus, hashtag F the banks. And we really appreciate you guys tuning in to today's episode. Again, make sure that you go ahead and hit that like button on this video. Hit the subscribe button with the notification bell on both my channel and Donovan's here. Links will be in the description for both of them, as well as joining our Discords and VIPs. So make sure that you guys check all the links in the description of these videos.
Yep. Make sure you guys let us know inside the comments what you found valuable inside of this video. If you want us to keep making more of this awesome content, please let us know either in the comment section of the YouTube video, or you guys can message us in Discord. We also have links in each of our channels in the description to all of our other social media handles so that you guys can get access to that. At the end of the day, we're just trying to spread that awareness, make sure everybody's on the same page with us. We're here making lots of money, and we want you guys to be doing the same thing. So thank you all so much for tuning into this video. It was a pleasure hosting this. Every Friday, expect a new update here on the Moonboy Podcast. Things are looking very up, and we're excited to have you guys a part of the team. So thank you all so much. That being said, I think that I've got all my words out there. How do you feel?
Same, I completely agree. Thanks for doing this today. It's been really fun. Yeah, we love every single one of you guys. Make sure you stay profitable out there and tune in to the next Moonboy Podcast. Today these last two starts out small, but someday this is going to be a very large podcast. So I'm excited to see where this goes from here. Love every single one of you guys, and peace.